even though 2022 is quickly coming to an end, there are still some other announcements we expect from Apple before then. While it's unlikely that Apple will hold another special event in October, it can still make announcements via press releases. This month, we're expecting updates to the MacBook Pro, new iPad hardware, and more. But the question is that will there be an Apple event in October? Apple held a special event in September focused on the iPhone 14 lineup and the Apple Watch Series 8, Apple Watch Ultra, and Apple Watch SE. At the time, there was an expectation that Apple would also hold an event in October focused on the Mac and iPad. October events focused on the Mac and iPad have been scattered over the years. In October of 2021, for instance, the company held an event focused on the new MacBook Pro and their M1 Pro and M1 Max processors. In October 2020, there was an event focused on the iPhone 12, which was delayed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. In November 2020, Apple held a Mac-focused event for the M1 MacBook Air, MacBook Pro, and Mac Mini. This year, however, Apple is reportedly not planning another event. According to Bloomberg, Apple is likelier to make any remaining announcements via press releases rather than an actual event. In this scenario, we would see press releases published on Apple's website, while certain members of the press would receive private briefings and review opportunities. Following the all-new MacBook Pro lineup announced last year, Apple is preparing iterative updates for this year. The overall design and form factor is expected to remain the same, with Apple focused on internal performance boosts thanks to new M2 Pro and M2 Max chips. In June, Apple launched its first M2-powered Mac models with the MacBook Air and the 13-inch MacBook Pro. Benchmarks and reviews for these machines showcase that the performance jump is notable compared to the M1, but not nearly as drastic as from the previous generation Intel chips to the M1. Bloomberg has emphasized that the new M2 Pro and M2 Max chips will focus on improved graphics performance. Recent predictions from Macworld also show what we could expect from the M2 Pro and M2 Max chips. The predicted M2 Max up to 10-core CPU, 40-core GPU, up to 96GB RAM. Continuing with the focus on the Mac, Apple is also developing a new version of the Mac Mini with the M2 chip inside. This new Mac Mini will reportedly feature the same design as the current model. Many sources has reported that the new M2 Mac Mini is internally codenamed J473. There's also a Mac Mini in development with the M2 Pro chip, codenamed J474, with 8 performance cores and 4 efficiency cores. These Mac Mini models would be the first updates to the most affordable Mac since the M1 Mac Mini in November 2020. Next up, Apple has some updates to the iPad lineup in the works. There's a new iPad Pro iteration in development, featuring upgraded performance with the M2 chip inside. These new iPad Pro models could also feature a new design, or at least some design tweaks. Bloomberg initially reported that Apple has tested a redesigned iPad Pro with a glass back. This would allow the iPad Pro to support wireless charging for the first time, as well as reverse wireless charging. Reverse wireless charging would allow you to place a wireless charging compatible device, such as an iPhone or AirPods, on the back of the iPad Pro to recharge that device. The power would be shared from the iPad Pro to the other device. Instead of a completely glass back, the company is planning a larger glass Apple logo that would support wireless charging. Perhaps more interesting than the new iPad Pro, however, is a new version of the entry-level iPad. This is the last iPad in Apple's lineup that features a design with a home button, large top and bottom bezels, and a Lightning port. All of this is set to change this year, as long as the rumors come to fruition. Recent supply chain reporting has painted a very interesting picture of what to expect from the 10th generation iPad. A new flat-edge design with no home button and smaller bezels. Touch ID in the power button, similar to the iPad Air and iPad Mini. A repositioned FaceTime camera, located on the right side rather than on the top. Lightning port is replaced with USB Type-C for charging and data transfer. 5G support for cellular connectivity. This would bring the iPad 10 much closer in design and features to the iPad Air. The biggest differentiator would be the difference in performance. The iPad Air is powered by the M1 chip, while the new iPad 10 will reportedly use the A14 chip. Some of these rumors should be treated with skepticism for the time being, particularly regarding the relocated FaceTime camera. There have been scattered reports regarding a new Apple TV throughout 2022. We've heard a few different things about what to expect. In May, analyst Ming-Chi Kuo said Apple was readying a cheaper Apple TV to close the gap with competitors, with the focus of this new model being on improving the cost structure of the Apple TV. Bloomberg has also reported that Apple is developing a new Apple TV, codenamed J255, with the A14 chip inside. These appear to be two separate products, one a completely new, lower-cost model, and the other an update to the existing Apple TV 4K that starts at $179. Last but not least, we're still waiting on the new Mac Pro powered by Apple Silicon. When Apple started its transition to Apple Silicon in November 2020, the company said that it would complete the transition within 2 years. That puts the deadline at November 2022, and the Mac Pro is the only Mac that's not available with an Apple Silicon option. Apple teased its Mac Pro powered by Apple Silicon at the end of its event in March, which also saw the introduction of the Mac Studio. Following that Mac Studio introduction, Apple VP John Turner said, "That leaves just one more product to go. Mac Pro, but that's for another day." The new Mac Pro is expected to show just how intense Apple Silicon performance can be. Bloomberg has reported that this redesigned Mac Pro will come in 20 or 40 computing core variations, comprised of 16 high-performance or 32 high-performance cores and 4 or 8 high-efficiency cores. The question is whether this Mac Pro will be available or announced this year. Most recently, Mark Gurman has said that the new Mac Pro is likely not coming until 2023. This, however, doesn't mean that Apple won't pre-announce it this year as a way to satisfy those buyers waiting on the release. As you can see, there are still a ton of new products in the works by Apple for this year and likely this month. Even if there is no dedicated October event, a string of press releases announcing these updates will create buzz and hype as we head into the holiday shopping season. There's also still new software on the way. iPadOS 16 is slated for a release sometime toward the end of this month, as is macOS Ventura. Apple is also beta testing iOS 16.1 with new features and improvements. Now let us know in the comment section below. What are you most excited to see from Apple in October? Also, if you like this video, then be sure to hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more interesting videos. Thanks for watching and goodbye.